Yeah, dude. Well, thank you, and thank you, JJ, for the opportunity for the stage for 5 minutes or less. Well, I have a confession to make, and that confession is that despite I've enjoyed incredible health for almost 60 years, I had a situation. And that situation was I was the fat kid. I had round cheeks. I ran the slowest 50-yard dash in elementary school in history. And at my bar mitzvah, the salesman took me over to the corner where the husky suits were. Well, by the time I got into medical school and cardiology, I'd figured a lot of this out. But for the past 45, 50 years, I was stable and always with a situation I called a bit thick. And as I was searching for solutions for my patients, for my family on longevity and aging, I was looking for that thing that would do that with a little smaller pant size too. So I follow the principle of one of my mentors, Russell Jaffe, a biochemist, who says, my goal is to be alive and dancing at age 120 and dancing with friends like you. In my case, I couldn't agree more. I just wanted to do it with a little smaller waistline. So I researched and I present you what has been called the single greatest medical advance in 2017, the application of periodic fasting in a unique and patented way called fasting mimicking diets. I learned of this and studied this, and I had to ask myself 5 questions. Number 1, would I commit 5 days a month to eat an exquisitely researched diet known to unleash primal responses that repair, regenerate, and rejuvenate the body? Would I do that? Number 2, would I find 5 consecutive days a month to eat this prescribed diet, knowing that it flips a metabolic switch to cause the loss of visceral fat and not the loss of lean muscle protein? Number 3, would I do this 5 consecutive days a month, knowing the science said this triggered autophagy of older, damaged cells, but released a flood of stem cells, young stem cells, into the bloodstream naturally through diet? And number 4 and 5, would I do this knowing that this research was done over the past 20 years by the world's leader in longevity, Walter Longo, a man who at age 48 was nominated for the Nobel Prize in Medicine, University of Southern California? Well, in March, after doing my due diligence, I said yes to these questions, and I embarked on fighting these 5 days, 800 to 1,100 calories a day, plant-based, very low in sugar, very low in protein, not to trigger the mTOR aging pathway, complex carbohydrates, and healthy fats like nuts and oils. I found I could work, I could function, I could lecture despite eating a third of what I was normally eating. And in my previous attempts at doing water fasting, this was a piece of cake. So personally, the results have been fairly astounding. 4 months later, I'm 22 pounds down. My waistline is 3 inches smaller. My blood pressure is 20 millimeters of mercury less. Energy, sleep, vitality at our all-time highs. My patients tell me the same thing using fasting mimicking diets. It isn't just my personal experience. Randomized studies, including a major publication in February, demonstrate these are the expected results: rejuvenation and regeneration of the human body with 5 days of a fasting mimicking diet. Well, what about longevity, one of my real interests? It turns out if you feed yeast a fasting mimicking diet, they live 10 times longer than control yeast. If you feed mice this diet, 40% longer. And though we don't know in humans, we do know we share exactly the same pathway to stress as yeast and mice, called hormesis. And we can actually predict that we will improve our health, regenerate our body. In my instance, a plantar fasciitis and a left shoulder pain that had plagued me for a year went away in these last 4 months, perhaps coincidence, but perhaps the result of a monthly flood of stem cells that you can produce in your body. Well, for a minute, I want you to imagine just a little bigger. What if a fasting mimicking diet could actually cause cancer cells to be more sensitive to therapy while actually making healthy cells more resistant to damage? Because this has been shown in humans with a fasting mimicking diet. And what if animal models of multiple sclerosis show during a fasting mimicking diet there actually is regrowth of the myelin tissue on axons, and humans with multiple sclerosis report decreased symptoms? That also has been published with fasting mimicking diets. And finally, and wildly, animal models demonstrate brain growth with a fasting mimicking diet, and in humans increased cognitive and executive function, also published data. So my friends, I believe that we can be together in 50 and 60 and 70 years, dancing and joyful, not only in good health, but also in slim bodies, by realizing that that fountain of youth is at hand. That future of health is actually by recognizing that the fastest track to health for the community is actually the fast itself. Thank you.
So good.